Theory and criticism have gone ever more prominent in literary and cultural studies. It aids to the study of literature. Formerly, the history of criticism was part of history of literature, and its purpose was to interpret a literary text. Criticism was dependent upon a creative literary text. But in modern days, literary theory lives independently without relying upon particular literary text. History of literature is often thought a history of criticism. Historically, interpretation, because the basic objective of criticism was to interpret. Interpretation has been conceptualized in a number of different ways. For example, objective textual analysis, that was one way of producing criticism. Second was moral assessment or emotional response. Another thing जिसकी वजह से लिटरेरी टेक्स्ट को वैल्यू किया जाता था, ये बहुत अच्छे अखलाकी सबक सिखाने वाले हैं, बड़े मौसर तरीके से अखलाक सिखाते हैं. दूसरा है कि नहीं, इमोशनल रिस्पॉन्स mean literary texts were accepted, rejected on the basis of emotional association. A literary evaluation means how a particular text becomes a literary representation or literary masterpiece. Our cultural critique in modern days, literature has been defined in terms of its ability to represent reality or to express its author's inner beings or to teach morality or to cleanse our emotions. तो ये लिटरेचर के चार बड़े फंक्शन यहाँ पे बताए जा रहे हैं और इसी पर लिटरेरी थ्योरीज की बुनियाद रखी गई. पहला यहाँ पर आपको नजर आ रहा है कि लिटरेचर has been defined to represent reality. That theory is called mimetic theory, imitation theory. कोई भी नाम दिया जाए, mimetic कहा जाए या इंग्लिश में imitation कर लिया जाए, it means it represents reality. Second theory is called expressive theory. Expressive theory means to express author's inner being. That is the focus of romantic literature, romantic movement of literature. तो ये एक दूसरा स्कूल ऑफ थॉट है जो ये कहता है कि जो राइटर या पोएट या नॉवलिस्ट के माइंड में आइडिया है उसको एक्सप्रेस करना उसका राइट है और वही पूरा लिटरेचर है, दैट इज एक्सप्रेसिव थिंग. थर्ड इज टू टीच मोरालिटी. ये तो एंशियंट डेज में माइमेटिक के साथ ही दूसरी थियरी शुरू हुई थी, दैट वाज व्हाट इज द purpose, what moral lessons do the readers get from the text. That theory is called didactic theory. Next is to cleanse our emotions. That is cathartic theory, that has an aim. Literature provides catharsis. History of criticism and theory contains many such arguments. In the world of theory, these elements are considered. Work is a literary text that has a relation with a universe beyond text. It has an artist, creator, poet, and it is meant for the reader's audience. So, four entities are interlinked in a process of literature. Mean a work of literature is created in a universe. It is created by a creative artist and it is meant for audience. The relationship of these four actually help to understand different theories. For example, when we have a focus that literature represents universe, it becomes mimetic theory. When we have focus that artist or poet wanted to express his feelings or ideas through literature, it becomes expressive theory. When we try to find out effect of literature on reader, it becomes cathartic or didactic theories. In past, didactic theories were moralist theories, but in 20th century, didactic theories became political theories like Marxism or feminism or African American and so on. And fourth is literary text represents nothing. It refers to itself. Mean it should be read closely, liberating from all external influence like universe, artist, and audience. That idea is called formalism. I skip medieval and classical theory, though they have their own significance, but I am more concerned with contemporary theories. Marxism. From ancient times, literature and the arts have portrayed, and criticism and theory have discussed differences in people's social class and history. In literature, we see that there are different classes, there are different sections of society, but with the spread and maturation of capitalism through its various stages, economic and other disparities have more visibly polarized wealthy and poor classes. Class formations, class consciousness, and class tensions form part of historical experience of modernization. And theory and criticism have been grappling with these issues of class formation, class बनती कैसे है, class consciousness, इंसान जो है वो अपने क्लास बिलोंगिंग का शौर किस तरह रखता है, and class tension, the conflict of the proletariat working class and elite and bourgeois classes. Many of current concepts, terms, and issues related to social class derive from Marxist criticism. Marxist criticism is influenced by economist philosopher Karl Marx. One of its grounding concepts is Marx's theory of modes of production. पैदावारी ज़राए. According to Karl Marx, human history is divided into 7 successive modes of production. Very important point. According to Karl Marx, human history is divided into 7 successive historical modes of production: tribal hordes, Neolithic kinship societies, Oriental despotism, ancient slaveholding, feudalism, capitalism, and 7th one and last one is communism. So Marx actually divides history into 7 steps. First was tribal hordes. And from tribal hordes, there is a beginning of class. Before it, there was a classless society. Class conflict within a specific mode of protection follows a basic overall pattern. ये मार्क्स का ख्याल है कि जो क्लासेस की आपस की कश्मकश है वो उनके मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन की वजह से कम या ज्यादा होती है. Capitalist or bourgeois mode of our time has been characterized by the conflict between industrial working class, which is the proletariat, and the owners and manipulator of the means of production, who are the bourgeois. Other classes, including the unemployed criminals, as well as the dwindling aristocracy, watch this conflict from the historical sidelines. He also predicted international labor will win and communist mode of production will emerge triumphant. यानी मजदूर जो है वो फतह पाएंगे और कम्युनिस्ट इनकलाब आएगा, eventually leading to a society free from inequalities, exploitation and class struggle. एक ऐसा मुआशरा कायम हो जाएगा जो इस्तेहसाल से, क्लास कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से, क्लास स्ट्रगल से और अदम मुसावात से पाक होगा. Culture and arts in Marxist view are neither innocent entertainment nor independent of social forces. They play a significant role in transmitting ideology and shoring up the hegemonic order. मीन लिटरेचर जो है वो मासूम नहीं होता, लोगों को सिर्फ एंटरटेन नहीं करता, बल्कि इसके जरिए कोई ना कोई नजरिया जो है वो फैलाया जाता है और ये एक हेजमोनिक ऑर्डर को सर्व करता है. दिस इज नॉट टू से दैट आर्टिस्ट एंड इंटेलेक्चुअल्स आर merely mouthpiece of the dominant social class, because many explicitly protest the ruling system and implicitly address their contradictions and shortcomings. Ideological orientation of literary work can be quite complicated. A text often contains mixed and contradictory messages that reflect its broad social milieu rather than its author's personal philosophy. From a Marxist perspective, artistic works frequently present fugitive, alternative, and counter-hegemonic images that suggest liberating possibilities. With the rise of consumer and multinational capitalism, many have found Karl Marx's concepts of commodity fetishism, commodification increasingly useful for understanding culture and society. Commodity definition is commodity has exchange value, not use value. So things are determined on their commodification and commodification value. Marxist critics complain that commodification promotes reification, tendency to view people and human relations as things or objects with price tags. In the arts, commodification leads artists to hawk their works anxiously to gain profits in an impersonal, competitive market. Next theory is psychoanalysis. It is often said that Freud discovered the unconscious, but it is more accurate to say that he and other psychoanalysts mapped its species and mechanism. According to psychoanalysis, the human psyche consists of unconscious and conscious spheres. mean broadly they are uh, introduced in this way, with most of its contents lodged out of sight in unconscious and covered over by a relatively smaller and dense consciousness. We can say consciousness is a smaller part and larger part is unconscious. The keys to the dark and inaccessible unconscious lie in free association, fantasies, slips of the tongue, and especially dreams, all of which reveal deeply buried, repressed, and self-censored wishes. यानी अगर इंसान का असल रूप देखना हो तो उसकी फैंटेसीज, फ्री एसोसिएशन, स्लिप ऑफ टंग और उसके ड्रीम्स के जरिए पता चलेगा. And these things are not easily accessible. So in a hypnotized state, human unconsciousness is accessed. Techniques used to interpret such unconscious materials, particularly dreams, have been useful to literary and cultural critics as well as psychoanalysts. The nightly formation of dreams or the dream work in Freudian terminology involves the censorship of unconscious wishes, because according to Freud, these wishes are mostly sexual. Undergo four kind of deliberate positive distortion on their way to consciousness, mean condensation, displacement, symbolization, and elaboration, that is also called secondary revealing. These unconscious processes explain why dreams emerge as nonsense. The task of a psychoanalyst is to make sense of dreams text. So that's the job of a psychoanalyst critic, to infer, to interpret dream text. You can say basic concern of psychoanalytical criticism is to access unconsciousness of the character. And to access unconscious of characters, they believe that literary text is like a dream. So as dream helps to access the unconsciousness, dream text can help to access human unconscious. Psychoanalysis has psychoanalytic decoding of symbols have proved illuminating to critics, notably those followers of Carl Jung, who have made inventories of